Alright, now I'm going to produce for you a hole in the center of this, all the way through the model, all the way to the other side. Okay? And to do that, one must have, see how this has an edge loop at the very top. Okay? And you can see that by it going around the outside edge of this. Well, this one does not have one. So I'm going to extrude it, scale it in just a little bit, scale it in a little bit this way, just like the one on the top. And then I'm going to show you a trick and a bug at the same time. So what I'm going to do is delete the top face. Notice I have back face on culling on, so it looks like there is no face there, but really there is. So I'm going to delete both the bottom and the top. Okay, now there is a huge bug in all versions of Maya. So I'll go over that here in a sec. And what I'm going to do is grab an edge, grab the top edge. So there's an edge on the bottom and an edge at the top. And here's the third tool I'm going to cover, and that is the bridge tool. Square box. So here I'm going to put the division levels at 1. Hit apply. Now what happens? Well, it bridges the bottom to the top. So I'm going to do that for every edge here. And sometimes this might be easier with back face culling off. Just so you can see this face edge and this face edge. There we go. Okay, now what happens here? Well, that made a bridge across several things, but really the one thing that you're going to find out is that these edges aren't really connected that well. Okay? And that well meaning there is a bug right here that prevents this from smoothing correctly when you go into 3. See what happens? Whew, is that not ugly? Okay, so I'm going to show you how to get rid of that bug. And the first thing you need to do is jump into your side view. And it's going to be different for all objects, because here I'm going to use the side view. It's going to be a little easier. I'm going to grab all these vertices and I'm going to go mesh merge. Okay? And what that did is sealed this vertex mainly. That's the one that the two faces meet. The bottom one's a little harder to get a hold of, so I'm probably going to use the top view for it. In fact, I probably could have used the top view for all of these. Okay, so I use the top view to get a hold of it, and I can go mesh or edit mesh merge. I'd be very careful, however, because did you see what just happened there? When you get two edges that are very close together and you go to edit mesh merge, this is what happens. Okay, so you can only select the vertices that matter the most if the lines are too close to each other. And be careful, when you're a new student, that happens all the time, and then your model gets totally hosed from it. So the ones on the top were fine. The ones on the bottom were too close. Okay, so here's the good news. The bug's still there, and it's still going to be a little bit jacked up as far as the smooth goes. This one's not too bad actually, but I'm going to show you something that in some cases it will not smooth correctly. And in that case, you have to go in here and turn on a plugin called OBJ Export. And if you don't see it smooth correctly, I export the selection onto the desktop, call it fix me, and it has to be the file type obj. And then I usually move this one out of the way and import the obj fix me back into it. Now that seems like a lot of work for a hole, and yes it is, but in some cases you're going to find that it just will not smooth correctly and you have to repair it then. In this case, this one's not too bad, but I'm using Maya 2011 here, and you guys are probably using Maya 2010. So keep in mind that it does occur all the time. So there is a complex shape with a hole in it. So you can extrapolate that and use that to produce a hole in anything. I could produce a hole here if I wanted to, here, here. As long as there's a face and there's a face on the other side, you can use that. And certainly the other way to do it is just have, let's say I have this polygon plane, which is probably the only other shape that you can use besides the box. And if I had just a face missing out of it, let's do this. Let's put a few faces gone. Well, if I take this entire object, since it's one single-sided face, and extrude it up, I have now a hole in the actual object. Okay. And the only thing different about these holes are when I hit 3, they look a little jacked up. They're not round. And that is because of this. At this level, I should have went like this first. I should have grabbed these faces and extruded them, pulled them in a little bit, then delete it, leaving an edge loop there. So let me show you the comparison of those holes for a second. Let's extrude the part up, blue arrow up. Let's hit 3 on the keyboard. You can see this one has an extra edge loop around, so it's a little bit smoother. These have a pinching that's occurring because there's an extraordinary vertex in the area. The extraordinary vertex is over here, not mucking up the smooth around the outside edge. So that's the problem with extraordinary vertices. And extraordinary vertices, any time that more than 4 edges meet. So we've got 5 here. So what happens is there's a lot of pressure on this vertex because it has to stretch in an extra axis and then becomes extraordinary. So that's how you do that. That's how you put holes in objects. Please move on to the next video.